Once envisioned as bustling centers of commerce and activity, these malls now stand empty and incomplete, left behind by changing times and economic shifts. From half-built structures to massive shopping complexes abandoned shortly after opening, these sites reveal the rise and fall of retail dreams. Join me, we're going to explore the stories behind 15 unfinished and abandoned malls. Number 15. Hawthorne Plaza Mall. So kicking things off today is the Hawthorne Plaza Mall. It's located in Hawthorne, California. This ghost of a mall stands as an example of the rise and fall of suburban shopping malls in the United States. Its story begins with a promise, spirals into decline, and now occupies an uncertain place between redevelopment and decay, all while playing host to urban explorers and Hollywood productions. The Hawthorne Plaza Mall emerged as part of the Hawthorne Plaza redevelopment project approved in 1969. The project was intended to transform a 35-acre plot of land into a bustling commercial center. Construction started in January of 1974, and the mall opened its doors in February of 1977. Having 134 stores, this mall featured 3 anchor tenants: Montgomery Ward, the Broadway, and JCPenney. It catered to the middle-class residents in Hawthorne, offering a more affordable alternative to nearby upscale shopping centers like the South Bay Galleria. For a time, Hawthorne Plaza thrived. Shoppers filled its hallways, and the mall served as a community hub. However, its early success was marred by violent incidents, including 2 shootings in 1979. Despite these setbacks, the mall retained its position as a local shopping destination. The mall's decline began in the 1980s as the local economy did suffer from the aerospace industry's contraction. This economic downturn, coupled with demographic changes and increasing competition from newer, more modern shopping centers, eroded the mall's customer base. White flight further drained the middle-class population, leaving fewer patrons to support its stores. By the late 1990s, however, the end was in sight, and the mall itself shuttered in 1999, marking the end of its retail era. Since its closure, Hawthorne Plaza has become a shell of its former self. Sections of the mall were demolished and repurposed, with the southern area transformed into a strip mall featuring a supermarket, pharmacy, and small restaurants. Yet most of the original structure remains abandoned, with redevelopment plans repeatedly falling through due to financial and logistical hurdles. Oddly enough, though, the plaza has gained a second life as a filming location. Its eerie, abandoned atmosphere has made it a favorite for movie and television productions. Films like Minority Report, Gone Girl, and Tenet have used its decaying corridors as backdrops, while TV shows such as Westworld and Teen Wolf have featured the mall in key scenes. Hawthorne Plaza's desolation has attracted urban explorers too. Though access is technically prohibited, trespassers risk encountering hazardous conditions including structural instability and remnants of vandalism. Well, despite all this, the mall's mystique continues to draw curiosity. Number 14. The Westland Mall. The Westland Mall, located at the intersection of U.S. Route 40 and Interstate 270 in Columbus, Ohio, was once a bustling center of commerce and community activity. Its story, spanning decades, starts out nicely but ends in abandonment. Opened in February 1969, Westland began as an open-air shopping hub anchored by Lazarus, Sears, JCPenney, and Woolworth. Early successes included its unique variety of tenants and even cultural contributions, such as hosting a teen variety show, America Goes Bananas, from 1977 to 1980. And closed in 1982, the mall modernized and expanded its retail offerings, drawing crowds and solidifying its place in the local economy. However, Westland's heyday began to wane in the late 1990s. The opening of the mall at Tuttle Crossing in 1997, only a few miles away, siphoned off customers and tenants. JCPenney was the first major anchor to leave, and others followed. Efforts to rebrand Westland as a bazaar-style shopping destination in the 2000s under new ownership failed to reverse its fortunes. By 2010, the once bustling center had fewer than 15 active businesses, including small local shops, eateries, and a sheriff's office. Anchor stores like Lazarus, Macy's, and Sears shuttered their doors, leaving large sections of the mall vacant. The decline culminated in the mall's closure in November of 2012. Its last remaining anchor, Sears, held out until 2017. By this point, Westland Mall had become a relic, a crumbling reminder of shifting consumer trends and economic realities. Demolition began in August of 2023 with the Macy's building and continued throughout the following year. Asbestos removal and other preparatory work marked the site's slow transformation. By late 2024, significant portions of the mall were gone, although some structures such as the Sears Auto Center and JCPenney buildings were preserved for future use. Though closed, parts of the mall stood until their demolition, sparking interest among urban explorers. However, the on-site security and 24-hour surveillance deterred most attempts to sneak in and explore its haunting, empty corridors. Number 13. The Forest Fair Mall. Opened in phases between 1988 and 1989, the Forest Fair Mall was situated in the northern suburbs of Cincinnati, Ohio, at the intersection of Interstate 275 and Winton Road. It was designed to be a retail juggernaut, the second largest mall in Ohio at the time, and a showcase for high-end department stores. The mall featured luxury anchors like B. Altman, Bonwit Teller, and Sakowitz, alongside mid-market staples, creating a shopping destination meant to appeal to a broad demographic. However, the mall's grand opening coincided with some serious economic hurdles. Its developer, L.J. Hooker, declared bankruptcy less than a year after it opened, dragging the mall into financial uncertainty. The three luxury anchors quickly shuttered, setting a precedent for instability that would plague the mall throughout its existence. Despite its rocky start, the Forest Fair Mall underwent a series of reinventions. In the mid-1990s, renovations attracted new tenants such as Kohl's, Bass Pro Shops, and Burlington Coat Factory. Mills Corporation acquired the property in 2002, rebranding it as Cincinnati Mills and undertaking extensive updates. Ownership of the mall changed hands multiple times in the 2000s, each new owner attempting to breathe life into the sprawling complex, yet the stores continued to close, and plans for repurposing the space, ranging from office use to entertainment centers, never fully materialized. By the mid-2010s, the mall was operating under its fourth name, Forest Fair Village, with only a handful of tenants remaining. By 2022, the Forest Fair Mall had earned a reputation as a dead mall. Media coverage highlighted its empty corridors, graffiti-covered walls, and dilapidated food courts. Structural and fire code violations led to the city of Forest Park shutting down all businesses except Kohl's and Bass Pro Shops. Finally, in December of 2022, the mall was officially closed to the public. In 2024, Bass Pro Shops announced its relocation, leaving Kohl's as the lone tenant in the sprawling, vacant complex. Demolition plans have been discussed with proposals to convert the property into industrial space, but funding remains a big problem. Its declining state attracted urban explorers and photographers interested in documenting its eerie abandoned spaces. However, security measures and legal concerns have made such activities risky and increasingly rare, but that hasn't stopped the daredevils from giving the mall a shot. Number 12. The Randall Park Mall. Randall Park Mall once stood as a symbol of infrastructure ambition in North Randall, Ohio. Opened on August 11, 1976, the mall occupied the former site of the Randall Park Racetrack and was envisioned as more than just a shopping center. Developer Edward J. DeBartolo Sr. imagined a self-contained community, a city within a city, with retail, office spaces, apartments, and entertainment venues. Spanning over 2 million square feet, it had 200 stores and 5 anchor tenants, including Sears, JCPenney, Higbee's, Horne's, and the May Company. Upon its debut, it briefly held the title of the world's largest shopping center. However, its story, like many others in the retail world, would eventually end. DeBartolo's vision for Randall Park Mall was grand. The complex was designed to rival anything of its kind, featuring not just shops, but also plans for high-rise apartments and office towers. The Performing Arts Center was meant to elevate the mall beyond commercial enterprise into a cultural hub. At the time, the mall's opening was celebrated with fanfare, attended by actress Dina Merrill and architect Frank DeBartolo, Edward's younger brother. Yet despite the initial promise, some elements of the vision, like the Performing Arts Center, never materialized. In its early years, the mall did flourish, anchored by prominent department stores and featuring a 3-screen cinema. Randall Park attracted shoppers from across the Cleveland metropolitan area. However, its fortunes were closely tied to the health of the local economy, which began to falter in the 1980s and 90s. Deindustrialization in the Cleveland area led to population decline and reduced consumer spending, both of which hit the mall hard. The death of Edward J. DeBartolo in 1994 marked the beginning of a more accelerated decline. The property changed hands several times, with new owners unable to reverse its downward trajectory. Anchor stores began to close, starting with Horne's in 1992, followed by a succession of others as consumer preferences shifted towards outdoor shopping centers and big-box retailers. By the early 2000s, Randall Park was a shadow of its former self, with vacancy rates climbing and infrastructure deteriorating. The 2000s marked the final chapter for Randall Park Mall. The once thriving retail hub became synonymous with crime and decay. By 2008, most interior stores had closed and the mall's power was shut off entirely the following year. The remaining anchor stores, including Sears and Burlington Coat Factory, eventually followed suit. March 12, 2009 marked the official closure of the mall, leaving only memories of its bustling heyday. Oh, and photographers and urban explorers did document the eerie abandoned space in the years that followed. Johnny Jew's photographs of the mall gained widespread attention, offering a haunting glimpse of a retail dream turned relic. And in 2015, arson struck the abandoned property, further underscoring its decline. Number 11. The Woodville Mall. Woodville Mall, located in Northwood, Ohio, just outside Toledo, opened in 1969 as a promising retail space. Developed by the DeBartolo Corporation, it was among the earliest enclosed shopping malls in the area, offering 850,000 square feet of retail space. Its anchor stores, JCPenney, Sears, and LaSalle's, were household names that drew shoppers from across the region. For years, the mall thrived as a community hub, bringing together families, teenagers, and consumers in a climate-controlled space that represented the future of shopping. However, its fate would ultimately reflect the challenges that many mid-20th century malls would face: competition, structural decline, and changing consumer habits. When it first opened, Woodville Mall stood as a centerpiece of the local economy, with 3 major anchors and a variety of special stores like Woolworth. With 3 major anchors and a variety of specialty stores like Woolworth, it offered something for everyone. The mall became a gathering place where people shopped, dined, and socialized. In 1971, a Woolco store opened across the street, adding to the retail buzz in the area, yet competition quickly emerged. The opening of Franklin Park Mall on the northwest side of Toledo in the same year drew customers away, establishing a new rival for the local retail market. Despite competition, though, the Woodville Mall remained a destination throughout the 1970s and early 80s. In '86, the mall underwent a significant renovation designed to modernize its interiors. Skylights were installed, the center foundation was replaced with a new court area, and a food court was added. These updates briefly reinvigorated the mall, but cracks in its success were already beginning to show. By 1987, JCPenney had closed its location, and while it was replaced by the Andersons, a general merchandise store, this marked the start of a long decline. Woolworth closed in 1994, following a trend of nationwide store closures. By the late 1990s, the DeBartolo Corporation had merged with Simon Property Group, which placed Woodville Mall and other struggling properties up for sale. Ownership changed hands several times during the 2000s, with each new owner promising renovations that never materialized. By 2006, fewer than 30 of the mall's 100 spaces remained operational. Elder Beerman, one of the original anchors, and the mall's theater both closed by the end of 2009, leaving Sears and the Andersons as the last major tenants. By the 2010s, Woodville Mall's condition had deteriorated. The roof leaked, mold spread throughout the building, and there was no heating in the winter. Some tenants resorted to using space heaters, violating fire codes, while the mall's alarm system failed to function properly. In December of 2011, a county judge ordered the mall closed due to safety concerns. Tenants were given until early 2012 to vacate, and the closure became permanent in June of that year. Demolition of the mall began in March of 2014 after years of initial plans that had been delayed by financial and legal issues. The Andersons closed its door in early 2013, citing the deteriorating condition of the mall's structure as a primary reason. Sears, the last remaining anchor, announced its closure in the same month that demolition commenced. Today, the site remains vacant, a reminder of the shifting retail landscape and the challenges faced by enclosed malls in an era of online shopping and lifestyle changes. Number 10. The Cloverleaf Mall. Cloverleaf Mall, located in Chesterfield County, Virginia, opened its doors in 1972 as Richmond's first regional shopping mall. At its peak, it featured over 40 stores and major anchor tenants alongside JCPenney and Sears, making it a central shopping destination for the region. Alongside the anchors were smaller establishments like Hallmark, La Vogue, and a 2-screen theater, all nestled within the 900,000 square foot complex. For decades, the mall thrived as a retail and social hub, but its story eventually mirrored that of many mid-century shopping malls: a rise to prominence, a period of sustained success, and a steady decline before closure and demolition. Cloverleaf Mall began with a strong momentum, catering to a growing suburban population eager for a modern retail experience. Its central location allowed for easy access, and the diverse mix of shops and entertainment options made it a popular community gathering space. In the 1980s, renovations aimed to maintain its relevance, including a second floor added and the relocation of the original two-screen theater to a standalone building. The 1990s marked the beginning of Cloverleaf Mall's downfall. The development of Chesterfield Town Center, just 5 miles west, introduced newer facilities that drew shoppers and businesses away. Renovations at Chesterfield Town Center in the late 1990s further underscored the divide between the aging Cloverleaf Mall and its modern competition. A series of violent incidents in 1996, including the unsolved murders of 2 dollar store clerks and the mysterious disappearance of a woman from the parking lot, damaged the mall's reputation irreparably. By 2000, JCPenney closed its Cloverleaf location and moved to the Chesterfield Town Center, followed by Sears in 2003. In 2007, with most of its spaces unoccupied and the building in a state of disrepair, Cloverleaf Mall closed permanently. Demolition began in 2011, making way for a mixed-use development known as Stonebridge, which features residential units, retail spaces, and a Kroger. Today, the Cloverfield Mall exists only in memory and in photographs. Its story is emblematic of the challenges faced by regional malls across the U.S. Although it's no longer standing, this mall remains a subject of fascination for urban explorers. During its abandonment before demolition, the site attracted individuals curious about its decaying interiors, though its deteriorating state and strict security discouraged any frequent visits. Number 9. The Jasper Mall. The Jasper Mall, located in Jasper, Alabama, opened its doors on August 8, 1981. With a floor area of about 350,000 square feet, the mall initially featured 2 anchor stores, JCPenney and Kmart, alongside several smaller retailers. The mall quickly became a local hub for shopping and social gatherings, offering a convenient and modern space for residents and visitors. However, despite its early success, Jasper Mall was not immune to the broader trends that began to reshape American retail in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. In 2002, the mall expanded with the addition of a Belk department store, further cementing its status as a key retail center in the region. This expansion, which included an 80,000 square foot increase in size, was expected to revitalize the property and attract new shoppers. However, as shopping habits evolved and the rise of online retail took hold, Jasper Mall began to face mounting challenges. The decline accelerated in the late 2010s. In 2016, Sears Holding announced the closure of several Kmart stores nationwide, and the Kmart at Jasper Mall closed its doors in March of 2017. This was followed by the closure of JCPenney in July of that year, part of a nationwide restructuring effort by the department store chain. With the loss of 2 major anchors, the mall's decline was swift. Although a few smaller stores remained operational, the mall's empty spaces and dwindling foot traffic painted a clear picture of the larger shift in consumer behavior. By 2020, Jasper Mall had become a shadow of its former self. The documentary Jasper Mall, directed by Bradford Thomason and Brett Whitcomb, captured the slow decay of the once vibrant shopping center. The film follows the remaining tenants, some of whom are struggling to keep their businesses alive, and the patrons who continue to frequent the mall despite its obvious decline. For many, the mall had become a liminal space, a place that was no longer fully functional, but still held a sense of nostalgia and significance. Despite its struggle, it's not been completely abandoned. In 2021, Dunham Sports opened in the former JCPenney space, breathing some life back into the property. In 2023, the Jasper City Council approved an incentive package to bring Rural King, a farm supply store, into the old Kmart space. These developments represent attempts to repurpose the mall and attract new businesses, but the future of the property remains uncertain. While the mall is not fully vacant, it is clear that it's not returned to the prominence it once had. Number 8. Wayne Hills Mall. The Wayne Hills Mall, once a beloved local shopping center in Wayne, New Jersey, epitomizes the story of small-town malls that have fallen victim to the changing tides of retail. Built between 1973 and 74, the mall had a brief but notable history before its eventual abandonment in the mid-2000s. Though never as large as nearby Willowbrook Mall, which spans 1.5 million square feet, or the mega American Dream Mall in the Meadowlands, Wayne Hills was a staple for local shoppers, drawing a steady flow of visitors for more than 2 decades. Initially, it included anchors like Meyer Brothers, a department store that held a prominent place in the mall until 1995. Other retailers, including Sam Goody, Save Mart Electronics, Pearl Vision, Foot Locker, and Payless Shoes. Dining options offered a familiar variety of fast food choices, including McDonald's, Quiznos, and TCBY, which helped solidify the mall's appeal for families and young shoppers. Despite its charm, the decline began in the mid-1990s. The closure of major stores like Kmart and Pathmark set off a chain reaction that devastated foot traffic. The mall, which had once enjoyed a reputation as a local shopping hub, was increasingly overshadowed by the expanding Willowbrook Mall, which offered a wider selection of stores and amenities. The Pathmark, a key anchor that attracted shoppers for groceries and other necessities, left a significant void in the ecosystem of the mall. As nearby stores like Toys R Us and Burlington Coat Factory also faltered, the mall's steady decay became inevitable. The last remnants of the mall, including the Coat Factory and Foot Locker, hung on for a few more years, but by 2008 the situation had become dire. As stores shut their doors one by one, mall management installed blue walls to seal off sections, leaving behind ghost signs and a growing sense of abandonment. A few remaining stores like GNC and Payless limped along, but they were no match for the mall's encroaching emptiness. In 2019, photos of the mall's crumbling interior showed fallen ceiling tiles, shattered glass, and a ruinous atmosphere that gave it a haunting appeal. Well, despite its abandoned state, Wayne Hills Mall holds a special place in the local history of Wayne, New Jersey. It may not have achieved the status of grander malls in the state, but its story is one that mirrors the broader shift in retail. Its demise is a reminder of how small-town shopping centers once thrived before the advent of megamalls and online shopping. Moving on to number 7, the Arondo Mall. The Arondo Mall, located in Arondo, New York, presents a striking example of how market oversaturation, poor planning, and changing demographics can lead to the swift decline of what was once a promising retail destination. Opened in 1978, this mall became a symbol of what was, in hindsight, a miscalculation in the regional retail market. While it started with ambitious plans, the mall struggled to establish a strong customer base, and over time it descended into what became known as a dead mall. Its story is one of failure in the face of oversaturation and competition, with a decline that mirrored the changing retail environment of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. As Arondo Mall opened its doors in 1978, it quickly became clear that the mall struggled to attract the necessary foot traffic to thrive. With established shopping centers like Eastview Mall dominating the local market, there was little incentive for consumers to flock to the new mall. Rather than offering something new, Arondo Mall merely replicated what already existed in the region. And the mall's location played a role in its failure. While Arondo was a small suburban town, neighboring Webster, which had previously been rural, was experiencing rapid growth in the 1990s. As a result, retail attention began to shift to Webster, where new developments were underway. Arondo Mall, with its increasing vacancy rates, began to feel more like a relic of the past era. By the late 90s and early 2000s, Eastview Mall had firmly established itself as the dominant retail destination in the area. This shift led to a trickle of defections, starting with smaller national retailers leaving the mall. The loss of these tenants was exacerbated by the departure of JCPenney in 2003, a major blow to the mall's already fragile tenant base. With each departure, the mall became more of a ghost town, with its once bustling corridors growing increasingly empty. Long stretches of vacant storefronts and empty hallways with more employees than shoppers, the mall had become a place for bored workers to pass the time and mall walkers who took the empty space for exercise. In 2007, Arondo Mall officially closed its doors. Its death was not marked by one dramatic event, but rather a slow, agonizing decline. The closure left behind a large, empty building that would stand as an example of its failure. Over the years, the abandoned mall became a popular site, though, for urban explorers. The decay, the broken windows, and the faded signage added to the atmosphere, attracting those interested in photographing its derelict state. Despite being left to deteriorate, Arondo Mall's ghostly presence continues to intrigue those who seek a glimpse into its once thriving past. Number 6. The Metro North Mall. Metro North Mall, just barely existing at 400 Northwest Barry Road in Kansas City, Missouri, was once a beacon of retail promise in the Northland area. When it opened in September of 1976, the 1.3 million square foot mall had 125 storefronts, 4 major anchor stores, and a unique 2-level design. It was the second largest mall in the Kansas City metro area, only behind Oak Park Mall and Overland Park. At its height, Metro North Mall was a vibrant hub for shopping, entertainment, and social gatherings. However, like many malls across the U.S., it eventually succumbed to the changing retail landscape and economic pressures, leaving behind a legacy of abandonment and decay. Metro North Mall's opening was a celebrated event. As the only enclosed shopping center north of the Missouri River in Kansas City, it attracted shoppers from across the region. Its center court, featuring a stage surrounded by decorative water pool and a floating mini hot air balloons, exemplified the creative design of 1980s malls. During the holiday season, the mall came alive with events, decorations, and bustling atmosphere that drew crowds. Metro North's early success was due to the location in the Northland area, coupled with its innovative layout that encouraged longer stays. By the 1990s, however, cracks in the mall's foundation began to appear, not structurally, but economically. Competition from newer developments, most notably the open-air Zona Rosa shopping district, drew tenants and shoppers away. Zona Rosa, developed by the same ownership group, benefited from modern design and outdoor appeal, signaling a shift in consumer preferences. Montgomery Ward shuttered its doors in 2001, followed by the AMC theaters. JCPenney and Dillard's followed suit by 2008, leaving Macy's as the sole anchor tenant. The mall's management did attempt to counteract this trend, and in 2007 redevelopment plans were announced to transform Metro North into an outdoor lifestyle center, but these efforts were derailed by the recession and the death of the mall's co-owner. By 2010, occupancy had plummeted to just 17%, with only a few small retailers remaining. The mall became a shadow of its former self. On April 15, 2014, Metro North Mall officially closed its doors, leaving Macy's as the only operational store on the site. At the time of closure, just two small businesses, GNC and the Wig Shop, remained open within the mall. In 2016, the property was rezoned to allow for a mixed-use redevelopment project, which included retail, office space, residential units, and a hotel. By early 2017, the mall was completely demolished, except for the Macy's anchor. Number 5. Rolling Acres. Rolling Acres Mall was a bold experiment in retail development, a grand commercial venture designed to serve as a hub for shoppers in Akron, Ohio. When it opened in 1975, the mall promised more than just convenience. It was going to embody the optimism of the era. Well, over the next few decades, however, it would face a slow and steady decline. Rolling Acres Mall was developed by Forest City Enterprises in partnership with Akron-based developer Richard B. Bulchoser. After an extensive site selection studies, the developers chose a 260-acre plot along Romig Road on Akron's southwestern side, and construction started in the early 1970s. When the mall opened in August of 1975, it featured a central court known as the Court of 12 Trees, a space adorned with ficus trees, planters, skylights, and a fountain. Anchored by Sears and featuring 21 stores initially, the mall quickly expanded. By 1978, the complex included JCPenney, Montgomery Ward, and a third anchor, O'Neill's. A movie theater and a food court dubbed the Promenade, later renamed Picnic Place, added to the mall's appeal. The 1980s brought further growth, but also hints of trouble. The original anchors changed hands multiple times, reflecting some shifting dynamics in the retail industry. Montgomery Ward was transitioned to Higbee's in 1986, later becoming Dillard's. O'Neill's went through a series of ownership changes before eventually being rebranded as Macy's, while the mall's interior underwent renovations to attract more fashion-oriented tenants. Security concerns emerged as early as 1991 when the mall opted for a cheaper private guards over off-duty police officer system. Incidents like a theater riot in 1993 and other disturbances created a perception of declining safety, deterring shoppers and potential tenants. The addition of Target in 1995 as a fifth anchor brought some temporary optimism, but by the late 1990s, major anchors like Dillard's and JCPenney's were downgrading their stores to outlet formats. The early 2000s marked the beginning of the end for Rolling Acres Mall. It was sold to new owners in 2002, but no meaningful revitalization efforts followed. Target, Dillard's, and Macy's, they all closed by 2008, leaving the mall without its primary tenants. The interior mall space officially shut down in 2008, though Sears lingered until 2011, and a JCPenney outlet survived until 2013. The mall's closure transformed it into a symbol of urban decay. Graffiti, broken windows, and overgrown vegetation turns this once thriving complex into a haunting spectacle. Rolling Acres did gain notoriety through photos and videos shared by those urban explorers who documented its interiors. Despite warnings and legal consequences, the abandoned mall became a popular site for trespassers seeking a glimpse of its decaying state. Number 4. The abandoned La Fiesta Mall. In 1992, the Fiesta Mall opened its doors in Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands, as a bold statement of modernity and progress. The largest shopping and entertainment complex in the archipelago, it was designed to blend in with the tropical beauty of its surroundings. Now, unlike enclosed malls elsewhere, La Fiesta's open-air design featured 3 interconnected plazas, Fiestas 1, 2, and 3, allowing the ocean breeze and natural light to enhance the shopping experience. The mall was more than a place to shop, it was a gathering point, hosting luxury brands such as Chanel and Rolex, alongside local businesses and restaurants like Tony Roma's. For a decade, La Fiesta thrived, its vibrant atmosphere a reflection of the island's economic optimism. In the early 2000s, Japan Airlines, the island's primary carrier, withdrew its direct flights to Saipan. This decision effectively severed a critical connection to Japan, which had long been the island's largest source of tourism. The mall, heavily reliant on that tourist spending, saw its tenant occupancy plummet. In 2003, Northern Marianas College purchased a portion of the mall with plans to expand its campus, but that project was abandoned. Other investors showed interest but balked at the economic risks, leaving the mall to languish with increased vacancies. By 2004, La Fiesta Mall closed its doors for good. Today, the mall stands abandoned. Nature has begun reclaiming the space with relentless persistence. Vines crawl over the walls, trees push through cracked tiles, and tropical birds nest in what were once high-end boutiques. The peeling paint, shattered windows, and sagging ceilings tell a story of neglect, while remnants of its past, a forgotten retail display, faded posters, or discarded furniture hint at the life that once thrived there. Efforts to repurpose La Fiesta Mall have been sporadically but ultimately fruitless. Proposals to convert the site into a school, a government facility, or revitalized shopping center have all failed, with estimated redevelopment costs exceeding $5 million. The local government, which currently owns the property, has yet to find a viable plan for its future. Number 3. The Mall of the World. Well, in 2014, Dubai announced plans for the Mall of the World, a project of unprecedented scale and ambition. It was proposed as a 48 million square foot tourist district along Sheikh Zayed Road. This development aimed to transform Dubai into a year-round global tourism hub. Envisioned as the world's largest shopping complex, it was to include an 8 million square foot mall, an indoor theme park and wellness district for medical tourism, and a cultural district modeled on global landmarks. The project was presented as a cornerstone of Dubai's future, with a vision of attracting 180 million annual visitors and expanding the Emirates' economy beyond seasonal tourism. With an estimated cost of $6.8 billion, construction was to proceed in phases over a decade, supported by a mix of internal funding and partnerships. The announcement came during a period of renewed optimism in Dubai's real estate market following the recovery from the 2008 global financial crisis. The Mall of the World was intended as a bold statement of the Emirates' economic resilience. Dubai Holding, the developer behind the project, highlighted the complex's eco-friendly construction methods and energy-efficient design. Initial plans suggested rapid progress with an optimistic timeline of 10 years for completion. Enthusiasm was high, with investors and developers lauding the project's potential to redefine urban tourism. Well, despite all the fanfare, the Mall of the World encountered immediate challenges. By 2016, it became apparent that the original plans were overly ambitious. Dubai Holding announced a shift in strategy, moving the project from its proposed location along the Sheikh Zayed Road to a less central area in Dubai Land. This decision marked the beginning of uncertainty surrounding this thing. As of now, the Mall of the World remains unfinished. While the project hasn't been officially canceled, no significant construction has taken place, and its timeline is unclear. Tourists and residents can't visit the site as there's nothing to see yet. The concept of the world's largest indoor city has become a symbol of Dubai's ambitious urban planning, but also a cautionary tale of projects that struggle to align vision with execution. Although the project is currently in limbo, it reflects Dubai's determination to position itself as a leader in tourism and innovation. Whether the Mall of the World will ever come to fruition remains to be seen, but its story offers a glimpse into the challenges of executing large-scale visions in a rapidly evolving market. Number 2. The Jamestown Mall. Jamestown Mall in Florissant, Missouri, opened in 1973 as a beacon of suburban retail ambition. Its initial success was driven by its strong anchor stores, Sears and Sticks Bear and Fuller, with a lineup of popular shops and services. Located in a growing suburban area north of St. Louis, the mall was designed to attract families with a mix of shopping, dining, and entertainment. From the busy aisles of Camelot music to the early appeal of Aladdin's Castle arcade, Jamestown Mall quickly became a community hub. Its appeal was bolstered in 1974 by the opening of a General Cinema Theater, adding to the mall's reputation as a destination for both shopping and leisure. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, the mall adapted to retail trends. Sticks Bear and Fuller became Dillard's in 1984, and famous bar, later Macy's, joined as an anchor in 1994, replacing an older location at Jennings Northland Center. Yet signs of strain began to emerge as retail shifted. The JCPenney store was converted to an outlet in 1999, signaling the mall's struggle to retain its full-line anchors. By the early 2000s, the mall was on a downward trajectory. In 2003, it was sold to Carlyle Development Group, which faced a mounting challenge. Occupancy had dropped to about 70% and continued to fall. Anchor stores began pulling out, with Dillard's closing in 2006 and Sears following in 2009. Multiple redevelopment plans from mixed-use centers to office conversions all failed to materialize. By 2011, the remaining stores were few and far between, and the mall's financial instability led to foreclosure. The JCPenney outlet, rebranded as JC's 5-Star Outlet, closed in 2013, leaving Macy's as the last anchor until it shut down in early 2014. The Jamestown Mall officially closed its doors in July of 2014, marking the end of its retail life. After its closure, Jamestown Mall rapidly deteriorated. In 2017, the property was sold to the St. Louis Port Authority, which planned for its demolition but lacked immediate funding. Meanwhile, the site became a haven for scrappers, vandals, and urban explorers. Fires broke out, pipes burst, and flooding worsened the already dire state of the structure. In 2020, firefighters responded to a blaze within the mall, highlighting the risks posed by this crumbling site. Demolition was completed by March of 2024, leaving an empty plot where once a thriving mall had stood for decades. Plans to redevelop the site into an open-air center are now in discussion, though, but no firm projects have taken root. Number 1. New World Department Store. The New World Department Store in Bangkok, Thailand began as a venture in 1983, positioned at the Bang Lampu intersection, a hub of the city. This store was part of a wave of modern shopping centers reshaping Bangkok's commercial landscape. Designed to cater to a burgeoning middle class, the mall included 4 officially approved stories, but was constructed with 7 additional unauthorized floors, an act that would later seal its fate. When it opened, the mall flourished alongside other notable competitors like the Central and the Mall. Early success encouraged expansion. However, the main building's unapproved floors loomed as a regulatory issue. The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration took legal action as early as 1985, but the case languished in courts for nearly a decade. In 1994, Thailand's Supreme Court ordered the removal of the illegal floors, yet the owners delayed compliance for years. Demolition began in 2003, but disaster struck on June 2nd of 2004 when the 8th floor, burdened with demolition debris, collapsed. Falling rubble fatally injured one shopper and severely damaged the building's reputation. This tragedy forced the mall to close permanently. Subsequent demolition work reduced the structure to its original approved 4 floors by 2005, but the damage, both physical and symbolic, was irreversible. In 2011, online interest in the abandoned mall surged, spurred by viral photographs of the surreal fish pond. By 2014, it had become a hotspot for urban explorers and photographers. After years of neglect, the New World Department Store found a renewed purpose. In 2020, an architecture professor collaborated with local organizations to host an exhibition at the site, showcasing urban community development. Subsequent events, including a 2022 exhibition during Bangkok Design Week, highlighted the potential of the space for creative and public use. Structural assessments deemed that the remaining building was safe, and its owners, the Ugala family, worked with city authorities to explore redevelopment plans. Proposals now include turning the site into a mixed-use public space, signaling the next phase of New World's story. Thanks for going shopping with me, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.